The iceberg goes deeper. In Yoshihiro Togashi's previous series, Yu Hakusho, there is an artifact known as the Chapter Black Tape, and this tape is the stuff of nightmares. It is said to contain thousands of hours of recorded human atrocities over a millennia. In fact, the content of the tape is so horrifying that it warps the minds of those who watch and transforms them into nihilistic killers. But why is this relevant? Well, it's because Hunter x Hunter actually has its own Chapter Black Tape. For quite some time, it was speculated that a Chapter Black Tape is what initially corrupted the Phantom Troop. This spawns from a page in Chapter 102, where the youthful and happy trooplets were seen playing with a mysterious videotape, the content of which was unknown. We do know the content of that tape now, and it contained an episode of the Mighty Sweepin' Power Cleaners, a sort of fusion of Power Rangers and Captain Planet. Perfectly innocent, but the Phantom Troop would go on to encounter another videotape. In fact, many more videotapes, hundreds, potentially even thousands. And the truth of their content is so horrifying that Togashi couldn't even draw it on page. The day everything changed for these kids was when they discovered the body of their murdered friend Sarasa in the forest. Her dismembered corpse had been left with a note that Chrollo read and refuses to ever speak the words of. But the reason why Sarasa was brutally killed was for entertainment. She was tortured and murdered on film. And in order to figure out who Sarasa's killers were, Chrollo came up with a sickening plan. He essentially turned Meteor City into an underworld safe space, creating specific venues where, how shall we say, creatives could screen their, how shall we say, films. And so the Phantom Troop watched hundreds, potentially even thousands of hours of humanity at its darkest, hoping that they would one day find Sarasa's video. To this day, we don't know if the troop ever found Sarasa's killers. But what we do know is that by watching all of this content, they were morphed and twisted into the Phantom Troop we know today. Dark, nihilistic torture enthusiasts, all as a result of the Hunter x Hunter version of the Chapter Black Tape. But to lighten things up, here's Togashi standing at the Eiffel Tower. Bonjour, says Togashi in perfect Francais, to which you say hello, because statistically speaking, if you're watching this video, you probably don't speak French, which means that this next deep dive might come as a bit of a bizarre shock to you, because Togashi's inspiration for the Chimera Ants actually spawns from Chimera France, specifically a series of children's books called Caroline et ses amis, which means Carolyn and her friends. Now, just who are these amis, you ask? Well, do the names Pito, Poof, and Yuppie ring any bells? Because all three of them are featured in these books. First up, we have Pito, a curious panther whose felineness was very much incorporated into the final Neferpito character. We also have Poof, a chat blanc, or a white cat, and one of Carolyn's more intelligent animal friends, often doing the heavy lifting when it comes to all of the thinking. And of course, we have lovable Yuppie, who is a cocker, or a cocker spaniel in English, very much embodying the more chaotic, derpy energy of the group, much as is reflected in Hunter x Hunter with Yuppie's more basic instinctual nature. And in a sense, Meruem would be the Carolyn of this group, and instead of, say, Caroline et ses amis à la plage, it would be Meruem et ses amis au domaine de dictateur, although there's a slightly more twisted interpretation as well, because the character of Carolyn does bear some resemblance to Komugi, both in terms of age and pigtail aesthetic. So in a weird way, the Chimera Ant arc pits Carolyn's friends against her. Fun thing though, there are books in the series that don't feature Carolyn at all, such as Le Noël de Poof et Yuppie, which is a really trippy book cover to look at having seen or read Hunter x Hunter, and it just makes me think of the ants photoshopped onto it. Poof and Yuppie decorating the Christmas tree, and Yuppie being a bit of an explosive rat bag, lighting Poof's tail on fire. Come to think of it, who gave that dog matches and why? But whatever the answer is, this is only half of the Chimera Ant story, with the other half taking place in Egypt. In Volume 8, Togashi dedicated 4 whole pages to documenting a recent trip he took to Egypt with his wife, and over time, readers of Hunter x Hunter would discover that Egypt had a huge impact on Togashi's creative drive. So in terms of time and chronology and such, this event happened before York News started being published, and so you can actually see hints of Egypt here and there. Benolanov is a mummy, but also Finks, whose name is just an anagram of Sphinx, and later on Finks would also adopt Egyptian-esque attire during the Chimera Ant arc. And speaking of the ants, this is where they got the first parts of their names, as each of the royal guard is also named after an Egyptian deity. Montu, often spelled as Mentu, was taken for Yuppie, although spelled slightly weirder as Mentuthuthu, but Montu was the embodiment of conquering vitality. He was said to be the manifestation of the scorching sun of Ra, which sounds like a very familiar Yuppie-style attack. And Montu was often associated with Raging Bull's strength and war and all of the fighty stuff, so you shove all of that into a happy French dog, and what we have is Menthuthu Yuppie. Then we have Shai, a deity designed to embody the concept of fate, and it is said that Shai determined the span of each person's life and presided over judgment of deceased souls. And our Shiapuf, it kind of did that, with spiritual message allowing control over all of the humans. Also, he did very much dictate fate, as he was responsible for giving Ant's Nen abilities with his cocoon. Although it is ironic that our Shiapuf failed in his predictions at every turn, and ultimately had no control over his own death. Meanwhile, Neferpito's name comes from Nefertem, who is a much less spoken about god, and we actually know very little about her compared to many of the more prominent figures. But Togashi was so taken by Egypt that he tries to jam in a reference wherever he can, such as the cover of Volume 20, which depicts our four protagonists gleefully roaming through real-life Egypt. This volume also featured the most lackluster author message ever given by Togashi, which is a simple 3 dots. A very bad period in Togashi's life, which we can actually see worsen in the author comment for Volume 21, which is simply, "I'm just getting by." It's no secret that manga production combined with health issues has been a big struggle at times for Togashi, but it's also been a lot of fun at other times. For example, Hunter x Hunter is published in Weekly Shonen Jump, the same magazine as One Piece, which is relevant because on this occasion, all of the weekly authors got together to do something fun. So this was back in 2018 when One Piece was celebrating its 20th anniversary. And to mark the occasion, all of the current mangaka decided that they were going to hide a straw hat in their chapter for the week. And for Hunter x Hunter, that was chapter 364. Although I'm not sure that Togashi quite understood the hiding assignment, because during Kurapika's struggle with Vincent, a straw hat very suddenly and very obviously appears right above them. But Togashi did have a lot of fun with this, and he admitted to going a little bit overboard, because he didn't just add one straw hat. No. He actually added a total of 14 different references from a whole ton of series, such as a soccer ball in the wall, Tanjiro's earrings from Demon Slayer, and even a sneaky equals MC squared equation referencing Dr. Stone. However, it is my sad duty to report that all of these references were removed for the volume release. Probably because it was a consistency nightmare. There was so much wacky crap in that chapter. But now, when we gaze upon Vincent's last moments in this world, unfortunately, there is no straw hat to be seen. Speaking of Vincent though, he may seem like an irrelevant and very dead bodyguard, but he actually holds a very strange record in Hunter x Hunter. Well, less him and more his Nen ability. Vincent's Hatsu is known as Air Blow, which did exactly what it says on the box. It blows air, but like very powerfully and very annoyingly. However, right now, Air Blow is the only Nen ability in the series to have been possessed by 3 different characters. Firstly, by Vincent, obviously, but then during the fight, Kurapika stole Air Blow using Steel Chain. And then when Vincent was inevitably killed, Air Blow then passed on to First Prince Benjamin due to his ability Benjamin Baton. So within the roughly 60 seconds that this fight lasted, Air Blow was passed like a joint between 3 different people. Speaking of different people though, one of the more enduring different people questions in the Hunter x Hunter fanbase is who is Gon's mother? A question that Gon himself doesn't ever care to answer because he thinks of a different person, Mito, as his mother. And you know, there's actually a really weird layer of truth to this, albeit only in the 2011 anime. In this series, Gon is voiced by Megumi Han, who actually comes from a family of voice actors. In fact, her mother is Keiko Han, best known for her work on the original Mobile Suit Gundam, Saint Seiya, and who just so happens to play Mito Freaks in the 2011 Hunter x Hunter anime, alongside her daughter Megumi playing Gon. So every time Gon and Mito have a scene, there is an unusually genuine familial connection, which is a very rare opportunity for voice actors to have. As a bit of a sub-fact, Keiko Han also voiced Luna in Sailor Moon, which I only point out because Yoshihiro Togashi married Naoko Takeuchi, who is the author of Sailor Moon. So I guess anime and manga is a very incestuous industry, but Togashi and Takeuchi are such a power couple. I mean, imagine having a combined career that spans so long that literal generations of voice actors are bringing your work to life. And in all of Hunter x Hunter, there's only one relationship that overshadows our 2 authors, and that is the Gon and Killua ship, the most popular ship in the entire series. There are many arguments and interpretations stating that Togashi does layer in some romantic subtext, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm not here to argue that, because forgetting the fact that they are literal 12-year-olds for a bit, it's actually hard to blame people who think this way, particularly when Hunter x Hunter itself is very aware of this idea, and sometimes even purposely plays into it. So once again, I'm gonna call the 2011 anime to the stand because you have some explaining to do. During a Hunterpedia segment of the Greed Island arc, Gon, out of absolutely nowhere, blushes and states, "You can see inside my binder whenever you want, Killua," which I don't even know how that works. Exactly what is the binder in this situation? I don't know. You know what? I don't want to know. All I know is that the headcanon of the anime staff may have gone a bit far at times. Although no matter how strange the anime gets, it will never be able to rival the dreams of the fanbase. And by dreams, on this occasion, I mean literal dreams. 7 years ago, a devoted Hunter x Hunter fan was hit with a month straight of Hunter x Hunter dreams. And this fan proceeded to post accounts of 23 of these dreams on Reddit. They start out innocently funny enough, standard weird dreams that make no sense. But then things take a turn on night 6. Dream 6. I was gone. I was heading to Beijing with Pito. During the journey, she looked at me, smiled, and said, "Yeah." Then I said, "Woof, woof indeed." And interestingly, these dreams do have some continuity to them. Dream 12. I was gone. I became a chimera ant. I was taller, have wolf's hairs, and insect-like articulation. I was stronger, and I get angry against Pito because she turned me into a chimera ant. And just like Togashi himself, sometimes the dreamer gets distracted and cuts to something completely different for a while. Dream 21. I saw a Kurapika fighting in the Battle Olympia, but he was weak against the Nen users because they are no spiders. He was beaten and have many bones broken, and then the whole saga ends very abruptly with our final night. Dream 23. I was gone. I was with Bisky and Killua. I have to fight against Pito, but she stabbed me with her hand. Then Pito said to Bisky and Killua that they have to kill some zombie-like mutants. Brackets, in this place there are this beings. Close brackets. Then she will heal me. But we don't know if Pito ever healed self-insert chimera ant gone, and we never will. But do you know one thing that isn't a dream though? Within Hunter x Hunter, there is a power system that exists alongside Nen. It's a significantly more sinister force used by very few, but to get into that, I'm afraid that we still need to go one layer deeper.